Hello, welcome to Once Upon a Stitch on my desk where the creativity happens. I'm going to go over how I add a wire into hat brims. And so here this is worked up entirely without wire, but you can, following the same method, reinforce wire all along as you go in the single crochet rows of this pattern in particular, or if you're doing a solid brim at kind of any point, probably just paste it out. But here I am just going to be doing it on the outskirts before we add our lace trim to this hat design. So let's get into it. So of course the primary objective, you can either calculate your circumference and cut a little bit more than that for the wire you need, or I'm going to show you a little more intuitive way if you want to bypass that, and it just gives you some wiggle room. I'm using the jewelry wire Motocraft. It's a 0.55 millimeter. And I'm going to double it so I have a full millimeter. So I do suggest a thicker one because this isn't very sturdy. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to unwire this a bit, trying not to let it fold so we don't get any sharp edges. Folding circularly is fine. I'm going to roughly want a little extra estimate of my brim. So I'm going to hold that down, bring it around roughly, and I'm going a little past what I have here. That is more. So this is my first one. And since I'm doubling it, we're going to, hold on, I'll place that down. I'm going to bring in the wire once again. And I suppose at this point, I was going to work it off of the spool, but I suppose I'll just cut the same length. So I will do that now. Okay. Just using regular scissors. This is thin enough that I can do so. And what you can do at this point, I'm going to do it at least on one end, is use some masking tape. Mine has fallen. So preferably I would have liked a tan or a white to mask this, but I don't really have that option here. So the blue may poke through a little bit, which I'll just have to be fine with. So I'm going to use it to wrap these two together to hold them together. And I'm not going to need the whole thing of this, since again I am working just with what I have, which is a very thick masking tape. So there we go. I think that's good enough. I shall trim that down this way. And now trim it here. Now what I'm going to do is be taking my wire and I'm going to place the end past where we're starting our row. I'm going to place it over, like in between the yarn and the hook, and I'm going to do my first chain, and that is going to put it in between here so it's pretty caught. And still again, I'm going to leave it behind here so we can work over it later. You can actually work it over considerably if you would like. I'm going to give it about, again, I'm going to try not to let these get too out of hand, so maybe not too far. I'll start about there. And here is where it gets simpler. We are going to be working our single crochets over our wires. I'm going to do 2 single crochets in my chain space here over the wire and making that quite tight. And then I'm going to work my single crochets into my 2 stitches here, going over the wire, securing it into the stitch. 2 single crochet into the chain space. The camera wants to focus everywhere else other than my stitches. I guess that is going to be that. And yeah, for now, that's what you shall be doing. You're going to single crochet, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Also of note, if you are using this method for a different pattern than my own, you would just be working your regular round, whether it is an increase round or not, just for reference. But in this case, this is the last white we're going to have. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Need to do into this chain, the 2 stitches. Trying to remind myself of the pattern now. I decided to start recording this offhandedly, so I did not prepare as well as I should have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into the 6th chain here, and then the 2 stitches. Always working over our wire, and then into the 7th chain we're going to work 3 single crochets, and that is after, oops, it is pulled this forward. Oh, and also because it's pulling this way. And always check that the tension is, you're not getting too much wire in there. So at this point I can pull it a bit, but it was getting nice and taut. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So you want 24 single crochets, or count by the chains like I like to do, and you'll want 6 working into the chain spaces followed by the 2 stitches, and into the next chain space you'll do 3 single crochet, and again working over your wire. So, and then you just repeat that around, and I'll pick up with you as we get closer to the other side. Alright, you can see I've worked most of the way around, and now we're going to be coming, oh, swung you too far. And now we will be coming on the end here. So this is the section we still have to work, and here are our ends. So this is actually even bridging a little over. Now what I would normally have you do, if you have a tan or a white masking tape, is take this off and then kind of wrap, clip the ends and wrap them together. I am going to be a little out there because I don't think the blue will really hide in this white. So what I'm going to do is just kind of have them, I'm not going to do the tape part basically. So let's see, I'm going to cut mine here. So here you would kind of overlap them and tape them down, and now you just have to make sure that it lines over the last of the bridge you have for your brim. So I'm going to try to work over them as they are here. We'll see how successful I shall be if you want to risk this yourself. So let's see. Where was my last increase? Here, so 1, 2, 3, and then my third. Okay, and here I am overlapping at the first, no, not yet. The next one I'm going to overlap with the other end. Okay, so I'm going to try to be careful. I think fairly successful. And what you could do, if you're giving yourself enough of an overlap of the wires, you could have it protrude out and then just clip that at the end. Whoops. But I'm going to see if I can do it without much of that, or at least that not as being planned. I do have enough overlap if necessary. That's why I find this a little more intuitive, that you can adjust and play it a little bit by ear, because the ending gives you room to just finesse the remainder of the wire. Okay, seem to be pretty successful going over both of them. They're now both kind of securely down together, and so I just need to get to the end, and I may need to snip this, and I'm just kind of checking as I put it down to make sure they're not pulling or are too loose on the brim. And we're nearly there. Okay, just 2 stitches to go. Let's see, the one side is down here trying to hide from me. Okay, and the last stitch does seem I'll have a protrusion in the back. So then slip stitch to join, like so. So there we have it. And let's take a look back here. If you, oh, I don't see it. But if you, oh, sorry, that was off camera. If any of it is poking out, you just kind of snip it in place. Since it's also brim further out, you might just need to be aware. But again, the table, just make sure nothing does poke out. You won't have any accidents. But with this color, I don't think I was going to brave this very stark blue. But yeah, that is how I add a wire to my hat brims. And again, I have done that before when doing just a single crochet brim. I've added it for extra structure, whoops, across the entire thing. So even here, I might insert a wire at each point if I really want to give it more structure. But now you see, and as well, just a note that I will also be using stiffener on this hat because the top has certainly become flappy. But just to give it extra support, I like to have that wire, and then you can just bend it to the shape you like. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. It was quick, again, pretty intuitive, but sometimes it just helps to get a look into it. And now I'm just going to add in my trim for the hat, and I am done here.